My video yesterday about the white savior complex triggered a lot of white people, and I understand the truth hurts. I'm sharing to raise our awareness about the invisible and not so invisible structures and beliefs that so many operate on and that oppress us. Now, let me take this white savior complex even deeper. Because the savior complex didn't end with charity or colonization, it is perpetuated by religion, specifically Christianity. When colonizers needed a tool to control the masses, they didn't just use force, they used faith. They took God, who was once seen as the great mother, the earth, the source inside of all of us, and remade that God into a distant man in the sky. Vengeful, angry, punishing, controlling, a mirror of their own lower nature. And then we were given this story of original sin, that we are broken, we're sinful, and we're powerless. But don't worry, a savior will rescue you. Do you see how that ties directly into the white savior complex today? If you convince people that salvation comes from outside of them, you make them passive. You make them obedient. You make them wait instead of act. And look at the history. The Bible was edited and weaponized by men. The earliest transcripts of the Bible came out of Ethiopia. Many stories, including the Christ archetype, came from ancient Egypt, long before Rome. Then the Council of Nicaea came along, a room full of men deciding what goes in, what gets erased, and what version of God best fits service to the empire. That wasn't divine guidance. That was political and social engineering. And what did they gain from it? A population trained to pray instead of resist, to hope instead of fight, to turn the other cheek while their land, culture, and bodies were being taken. This is why so many people today are still waiting on Jesus to come and fix the world, instead of realizing that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the ones meant to heal the earth. We are the ones responsible for ending oppression. Waiting on a savior is one of the most effective forms of control ever invented. Because as long as you're waiting for someone else to save you, you're not saving yourself. You're not protecting your community. You're not challenging the systems of harm and oppression. Once you reclaim that truth and your innate power, the whole savior complex falls apart. I'm empowered to use my voice and to speak truth, to raise awareness, so we can throw off these shackles of mental slavery and oppression that is holding us back.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a guide for Give. Let's talk about white saviorism. So the root of this problem basically comes from the idea that white people think they have some special inherent ability to rescue people of color from their own situation. So that means that people travel and they go into the communities without any interest or knowledge of what it's actually like to live there and the complexities of the people there. They focus on what the community lacks, so they're disempowering everyone that's there, and they also make absolutely no effort to actually analyze their impact. The most diabolical thing about this is that these saviors leave those countries that they're in, post disrespectful photos online to show off to their friends without any knowledge of what they're actually leaving behind, and it always causes more harm than good. So here's the nice part. At Give, we're dismantling this by implementing practices that actually empower local people to lead and build on what they already love about their community, because they're the ones who know it best. We have a massive focus on respect, sustainability.
There were so many missionaries that would go to Africa and all these places, and I remember being a little kid and surrendering to mission field because I wanted to go help the poor kids in Africa who lived in huts because they needed Jesus. And just like a year ago, I had a coworker was like, I don't know why, I've always just wanted to help the little kids over there. And she was like, do you realize what you're saying? You're trying to be the white savior. And I'm like, is that why I was...
The people trying to save the world still haven't saved themselves. People who are so caught up in trying to awaken other people, save others, save the world, raise everyone's level of consciousness, they themselves are not operating from the fifth dimension of consciousness. The fifth dimension of consciousness is pure love, is unconditional love. That means you see everyone and everything as perfect, exactly as they are. You're not trying to change people. You're not trying to fix people, because what does that assume? That's assuming that they are not good enough, that you need to change them, that they need to be different. That is not operating from a truly unconditionally loving place. If you really wanted what was best for yourself and for others and for the entire planet, it's to be the example. Be the living example of someone embodying unconditional love. So you could care less what others choose to do It's all about what you're choosing to.
White people suffering from white savior complex, and yes, I'm going to say suffering because it's almost as if it's an illness. They believe it's the responsibility to save and help people in underprivileged communities. Those communities are predominantly people of color. And these white people are doing it because they feel as if they are the savior. They are the ones that can help these poor little people of color because they just can't do it themselves. In most cases, it's the oppressive systems that limits these communities from being able to prosper and grow as a whole. Although the white savior complex can come with good intentions, it is still crucial and absolutely necessary to look at the deeper meaning behind why white people feel the need to save people of color. People's desire and need to do this actually shifts away from the real problems that these communities are being affected by. It literally puts marginalized groups on the back burner while putting the white people that help them in the front, which in turn mutes the voices of minority groups and their personal experience.
White people, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our violence, white violence. No more deflecting, no more blaming everything on everybody else. Let's confront ourselves. White people in America, our history is so extremely violent. And instead of confronting that, we continue to blame other people for the issues and the problems in this country, instead of just taking ownership of our part to play in everything, which is a huge part. Can we stop scapegoating other groups of people, please, and just look at ourselves? White people, it's time to talk about it. Like, it's long past time. Getting rid of other groups of people in this country is not going to make this country better. It's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make you better. I think white people are so scared to talk about race and to talk about white violence and white supremacy because they don't want to connect themselves to it. We don't want to feel like we're a part of the problem. But unless you're acknowledging the reality of how the US, this country, runs, you are a part of the problem. I truly believe in my heart, in my soul, that if you're born a white person in this country or on this planet, but I'll just speak about this country, part of that journey is to dismantle systems that have been built to oppress other people. The hard work of life is to confront yourself. How do I benefit from the way that things are? And how does my benefiting from those things harm other people? And instead of walking around with, 1,000-pound bag of shame on your back, consider it your responsibility to do that work. Consider it an opportunity that you are in the best possible position to make this world a better place by not accepting racist and prejudiced and oppressive systems for what they are and trying to contribute to changing them. Use the privilege that you have for good. I don't think that anybody can ever really love themselves without being honest about themselves, without being honest with themselves. And that work is painful and hard, but it's so worth it. White people, you don't have to consciously think that you're better than other people in order to contribute to harm against them. All it takes to contribute to harm is to stay silent and disengaged. White people, can we finally get this shit right? Can we finally take accountability? Can we finally look ourselves in the mirror and decide that this isn't good enough? We're not doing a good enough job. You aren't losing because somebody else is safe and cared for. You aren't losing because somebody different than you exists. White people, let's talk about it. Let's start having these conversations with ourselves and with each other. It's time.
One of the biggest psychological tricks colonization ever played? This whole white savior image. Because here's the truth. The savior role wasn't created to help indigenous or African people. It was created to help white people escape their own guilt. Hear me out. If you position yourself as the savior, you don't have to face the fact that you're the one causing the harm. This is why colonization needed a white Jesus, not to just convert people, but to convince Europeans themselves that they were chosen, righteous, ordained by God to save the world. This is how you justify genocide. This is how you justify land theft. This is how you justify slavery, extraction, and domination. You rebrand yourself as the hero. And the wild thing, that psychology still exists today. The same systems, the same families, the same corporations that created most of the world's suffering now show up with the money and power acting like they have the real solutions. When in reality, the world is burning because of the systems that they have built. It's the modern white savior complex, philanthropy, NGOs, charity, development, aid, and even environmental agendas still centering the same people who caused the damage. And it just keeps the same colonial story alive. We know better, we can fix it, we can fix your land, we can fix your people. Instead of acknowledging that indigenous, African, and ancestral cultures had the solutions all along, and the world collapsed when those systems were destroyed and not honored. So when we talk about decolonizing, healing, and liberation, we're not just talking about the past, we're talking about the stories that still run the world today. And until we dismantle this savior image, there can't be real accountability, real justice, or real change.
Hi, Benji here, and this is my number one tip for avoiding white saviorism. White saviorism, or the white savior complex, describes white people helping people of colour in a self-serving way. Common examples include people who extensively document their charity work in African countries on social media, and feel-good activism that prioritises the comfort of white people over challenging and deconstructing the systems that oppress and discriminate against people of colour. Ultimately, white saviorism centres white people, so as a white person looking to use your white privilege for good, the best thing you can do is actively decenter yourself.
Okay, I'm going to try to explain this as clearly as I can because some of you are really just not getting it. The term white savior, okay, is not a term that is describing a hero who is white. Okay, savior is a misnomer. Okay, he is not an actual savior. He's not a hero. That is not what the term means. The term white savior or white savior complex is a negative term. It describes a villain, a bad person. So when I say that this is a white savior story about a white savior complex, it is describing Paul as the villain, not the hero, because that term does not refer to heroes. The term white savior references people who are either white or Western or in positions of power coming in to indigenous populations, POC populations, downtrodden populations, and quote, saving them and quote, helping them while actually exploiting them, taking advantage of them, and grabbing power for themselves. That is what that term means. In the book, that is what Paul does. He takes advantage